Little GTO, you really looking fine. 3 deuces and a 4-speed.
Okay, I'm just going to do a little demonstration on how to remove the aluminum trim from a post coupe, like on this 64 GTO. 65 would be the same, they're the exact same doors and trim. So this is one that I got back from Bright. So it is, needs to be wiped off, but it is newly anodized, so it would fit on the door just like this. And I'll show you how you would remove it. I'm not actually going to put it back on the door because it goes, this is actually for another 64. Okay, actually before this goes on, the pillar trim goes on and the forward trim goes on. And so this would first go on, and likewise the first piece you take off is going to be the top piece. So last to go on, first to come off. Now, one thing you'll know about how this trim is installed, if you look right down, let's see if I can see this. If you look right down here, you can see that one side, in this case this side, has more hook than this side. And that's because you hook on this side and it snaps over on this side. And I'll show you how that's done. So if I were putting this trim on this pillar, the outside is the hook side and it would snap over onto the front side. Likewise with the top side is the hook side, and then it snaps over onto the inside. And so if it snaps to the inside, the part you're going to be removing it with is on the inside as well. You're going to be working the inside lip to undo the snap, and then it'll come off. Okay, I apologize for the dark body color, which may make it a little more difficult to see, but if this trim, let's see, snap side, hook side. Okay, you can see which side's the hook side because it's the longer, it's got more hook. So if this were snapped on, you'd have the lip would be coming just over this edge. Well, what you want to do is you want to take a block of wood, maybe about this size, and you want to use a softwood like pine. I put it in the table saw and square up the edges. I don't want rounded over edges from a piece of 1x or something. I want edges so that it can be able to grab that lip. And what I want to do, sometimes you may even have to shape the block of wood a little bit, give a little relief in it to get in here. And you want to contact that trim on a fairly wide area. So I've got at least 4 inches on here. And then, for example, I would take like this and I would carefully try to coax it off the lip. I want to undo that snap. I don't want to put pressure on the trim in one specific spot, or you're going to end up denting or, malforming the trim itself. So the point is to spread the force over a large area. So when you're grabbing on the lip there, and I would start in one place and work my way up until I can work that entire snap off, and then the piece will come off like this. But again, always from the inside of the window. Once you do it once, you can get the feel for it. You'll be able to quite easily, without much fear, be able to work these off. They're not as difficult as they may seem. But the problem comes in when people try to use a screwdriver or something small to try and pry that off, and you end up bending it or twisting it in one specific spot. You've got to spread your force out with a soft block like this. So, and you can work it off of the pillar or off of the door frame. Another tip that you want to do is the edge that you're using to pry with, on the ends, you'll want to sand those, round them, soften them, so that you don't have a sharp edge that could actually catch and make point contact. So this top edge and this bottom edge here. The edge you're prying with you want sharp, but this top edge, especially in the corner here, you don't want it, for example, catching and bending in one little spot right here on your trim. Now this is the procedure for the door. Everything snaps on here, but for the quarter trim, there are clips that retain the quarter trim. So you've got to use those. Okay, just another note here. In the trim on the top of the door, there is a tab on the end that you actually do bend. You would unbend it slightly before you go to take it off. So in order to undo that snap, so you got to have this tab clear and then undo the snap. And after it's polished and re-anodized, then you can snap it back on, and then you can bend this tab back over, and you can probably just do it with your finger. So it just wraps right back around there. But just a note on that. Okay, now the quarter window trim is going to have similar a hook and a snap edge, but it doesn't go directly on the pillar itself. It has, the vertical piece has 3 clips that look like this. So you have one piece that slides on here, and you actually install your trim. They snap onto the piece itself, and the trim will go over the edge right here. And I'm not going to go home with this because this isn't the car it goes on, but and I don't want to take it off, especially a newly polished piece. I'd like to do it just once, so I don't take a risk of messing the piece up. Just some notes. Anna Bright has done a great job for me with this trim. I had trim that was dinged and damaged, and I don't know if the camera can see the hammer marks in here, the trim hammer marks, but where they have worked out some issues here, and then they completely polish it, sand it and polish it, and from the front side you can't tell that there was ever any problem. It's perfectly straight. So, but anyway, the removal of this trim is very similar. You've got to get under here and unhook the trim. In this case, it snaps, the hook side is on the inside and the snap side is on the outside. And really what it's snapping onto is the trim, the clips themselves. Let's see, and you're going to have similar clips that go along for the top piece as well. So there's 3 clips for the vertical, and there's one, I can still see some of the marks. I'm not sure, I have to look. There's at least one. I actually had most of my clips replated. This one's just sprayed with 3M weld through, but just get them nice and cleaned up, so protect them in the future. Here you can see how I store my restored trim, the aluminum and the stainless for the exterior of the vehicle. I have 2 layers in a gun case, and this plastic gun case with the foam does a good job to keep my trim safe until it's time to install.
Yeah, yeah.